E te māngai te whare.
I call the Honourable Meka Whaitiri.
E te māngai te whare, tēnā koe, e ngā memba o te whare nei, tēnā tātou katoa. Tūwharetoa mana, tūwharetoa reo, tūwharetoa tangata, anei ngā mihi ki a koutou katoa. Anei ngā mihi i runga i tō karanga o te pere nei whakahirahira. Nō reira, he uri ahau o te tai rāwhiti, nā te kahangunu, tēnei te mihi maihoha ki a koutou katoa. E te āriki tumu, tēnā koe, me tō hoa rangatira, Susan, tēnā kōrua. Dame, Georgina, tēnā koe, o tira o kurau rangatira mā tēnā koutou katoa. Mr. Speaker, Jingos, Mr. Speaker, it is indeed an honour to stand in support of this settlement bill of Ngāti Tūwharetoa. So important, Mr. Speaker, that so many people wanted to get up and stand to celebrate and acknowledge this special occasion. So can I just please humbly thank the opposition for allowing me to take a slot so I can stand. Ngā mihi kia koutou. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I thought sharing some stories, Mr. Speaker, I thought about sharing some stories of significant people from Tūwharetoa who I've had the privilege to work alongside as a way of celebrating this significant day, Mr. Speaker. And of course, my colleague here, Louisa War, who I'm very proud to share government benches with, represents Tūwharetoa very well. So I want to mihi to you, Louisa, for all that you stand for and all that you bring to this House and the way in which you do that. I'm proud to call you a colleague. Mr. Speaker, my predecessor, my mentor, my friend, the Honourable Parekura Horomia, had a way of creating relationships with people all around the motu. And on this special occasion, he said, we need to go and see Tumu. And of course, it was with honour that Parekura and I travelled to Taupō. And of course, our favourite saying was, we must get on the boat with Tumu and go fishing. And that was a code, I believe, Mr. Speaker, for two great men to kōrero. And so we went off to Taupō, we got on a boat, and we went out fishing. Unbeknown to us, Tumu hadn't told the rest of the tribe. And we were on the lake for about 4 hours. And there was a flurry of, where's Tumu? Where's Tumu? And when we arrived back, after catching trout, being fed on the boat, there was a delegation at the port when we got back in Taupō. And I'm pretty sure there were some words of, where have you been? Where have you been? What have you been up to? And Tumu's gracious way was, that was for me to have and for not to share with you. So, Mr. Speaker, many of our leaders, and I do want to acknowledge not just Parekura, but it's times like this I remember Timi. And I remember his contribution to his brother and to his people. And like Lou said, it is times like these that you think of these great rangatira who are no longer here with us, but who have forged a passage for this very day where we stand in this House to celebrate Ngāti Tūwharetoa and their contribution to the nation. So I want to stand and acknowledge Parekura, I want to acknowledge Timi, and of course I've acknowledged my colleague Louisa. I want to also acknowledge a colleague by the name of John Bashara, who I worked with under Parekura at the Community Employment Group. So wherever John is, I know he's made a significant contribution to the people of Aotearoa, and I know he comes from these great people, Mr. Speaker. So I want to acknowledge John. And I also want Tūwharetoa to claim the current coach of the Silver Ferns. I do. I know she's from up north, but she was schooled in Taupō. So I want to acknowledge Nolene Taurua and her beginnings in Taupō. Let's not forget that. So there may be a few tickets coming Tūwharetoa's way when you remind her about where she grew up and who nurtured her. So I know it was Taupō. So, Mr. Speaker, it's people like these that I've named. And of course, I want to also acknowledge Tūwharetoa. I want to acknowledge Meka Whaitiri and the hapu and whānau and what they've been forging, as Tūmanako always does, under the radar. But I know, and I want to acknowledge his contribution to this nation and what they are doing in Wōkai, particularly around the hothouses, Miraka and their native nursery, Mr Speaker. But of course, the contribution that he's given this government through his daughter Meka Whaitiri, who currently now sits on Damien O'Connor's Agricultural Council, bringing Māori expertise the way we do it to bear on this side of the House, so we are contributing to all, like the Prime Minister has said many, many times. So I wanted to stand and acknowledge these fine people as only a small glimpse of Tūwharetoa's generosity to this nation, Mr Speaker. Their generosity, their patience. You know, I'm looking down in the deed of settlement. I see it was signed on the 8th of July, 2017, and a year and a half later, we're having the final reading of their bill. So they have, Mr Speaker, been very patient, and they've also been, like I said, very generous with what they have given. So, Madam Speaker, I am proud, like I said, to stand in support of this bill with all members of this House. And I too want to acknowledge Sir Michael Cullen. I also want to acknowledge John Ives. I want to acknowledge the negotiators that have brought to this House a bill that we are proud to support. I want to thank you for doing all that work for that outcome. In the time I've got left, Mr Speaker, I want to acknowledge our rangatira āpoko, our rangatahi that are in the House today. And Mr Speaker, if that haka that we saw at the Pōhiri has anything to show where Tūwharetoa is going, watch this space. And I want to acknowledge those rangatahi that not only did the haka, but are here to support this important kaupapa, but who I know, Mr Speaker, are already planning their next 5, 10, 15, 50 years out in terms of Tūwharetoa, and I want to acknowledge them. I want to say respectfully to the kotahitanga o Ngāti Tūwharetoa that amongst all the planning, because this is just the beginning, it's not the end, you know, and I'm excited about what's going to come out of Tūwharetoa, then we always remember to be bold and to invest in our own. To be bold and to invest in our own. For too long, we have always thought the expertise lies outside of our people. It is now our time to invest in our rangatahi, to invest in their futures, because we have so much to do and we have so many people to do it with. But we could be the catalyst for that change, the pipeline of leadership that should be coming through with a range of skills to unlock the potential that is in the Tūwharetoa rohe. So, Mr Speaker, these are just a few words of advice. Again, like my sister Nanai, as a former negotiator, is always having something to share, but to stand in all humility and celebration with the people of Tūwharetoa for this significant achievement. This is your day, this is your hour, this is your future. Nō reira, e te māngai te whare, tēnei te mihi ki a koe, o te rā te iwi o Ngāti Tūwharetoa, hare ko te ngākau, kia koutou katoa, he mihi aroha, he mihi maiha, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tihei Tūwharetoa.
Members, this is a split call. 5 minutes, I call the Honourable Willie Jackson.
Mr Speaker, tuatahi